Alright fellas, here we are back in Pokemon Masters, and today we're going to be doing a tier list ranking of all the ice types in Pokemon Masters. Holiday season's here, may as well rank ice types. Why not? So, this is just going to be a system where I rank the ice types relative to each other, so do keep that in mind. It's not going to be like, how do these characters compare to the best in the game? It's going to be more so, how do you compare to the rest of the ice type options that exist? Had a bit of a trouble with a lot of these rankings. I do think a lot of characters could be switched between higher or lower, but I do think I got a relatively solid ranking for where these characters should go. I don't want this to be too long of a video because we do have a lot to cover, but first of all, let's start off with characters in order. Laurelai, F tier. Laurelai straight up in F tier. Her only real use, in my opinion, is freeze, honestly, because her damage sucks because of her extremely low special attack stat, even with 6-star EX. It's not even 300. I'm pretty sure Anniversary Steven's attack, which is infamously bad, may actually be higher than that. Yeah, it's at 150. 294, it's still better, and in base, of course, but of course he doesn't have it, any attack buffs on Mega, but still, 294 attack, it's still slightly better, and then Laurelai's went, then Laurelai at 6-star EX, which is just kind of sad, but whatever. Her nuke is not hard to activate, but the only thing she has is Towering Force, which, I don't like that. Heavy Hail, which is not hard to activate because she doesn't set Hail herself, but she does have Irida and whatnot, and then she has her Freezing Terror Blizzard, which she needs Freeze. But if you're going to freeze, it's very hard to do. The highest freeze chance we have outside of Neo Champion Red's guaranteed freeze is, I think, 30%, which is for like which is most ice types, maybe 40%. Freeze is very inconsistent and it doesn't last like the longest. So getting her multipliers activated for her nuke is quite difficult, and then she has low special attack on top of that. Blizzard damage sucks mostly. It needs freeze synergy, which we've already discussed the issues with freeze, and invigorating hail, 10% multiplier is not going to help. So I would say her only real use is maybe bulk with her defenses and HP, as well as maybe freeze with Ice Beam. Pretty much it. Going into the D tier, we have Wolfric and Price. Both of them together, I would say, are in the D tier, just slightly above Laurelai. Price, his big thing is that his special attack is better than Laurelai, not exceptionally better, but it is better. Well, by 60 points, that's quite a lot better, right? But you know what I mean. It's not like exceptional, but it's still quite decent. His best thing is that if you can guarantee freeze the enemy, he's got 80% multipliers here for his Icy Winds, meaning he can do some heavy damage, as well as having Invigorating Hail. He could be pretty good in that regard, as well as having relative decent self-sufficiency. He can do fine there, plus super duper effective if you are doing that. I think he can do some decent damage if you get that freeze, which, if you partner with Neo Champion Red, you can do. But of course, if you're using Neo Champion Red, why are you using Price? I used him once with Red just for the funny of it, really. And Wolfric, I would say he's not in F tier, only for the fact that he's got flinches. That's pretty much it. He's got himself the 30% chance to flinch, as well as a 30% chance to freeze if you grid everything here. So you have that chance for flinch, and if it fails, you do have freeze as well. So you have pretty much two chances in order to potentially try and, disrupt the opponent. He's also got quite decent attack here, I would say, where you can use his nuke, which is far easier to activate. It's not great, but it is far easier to activate than Laurelai's full nuke. So there you go. And then obviously Avalanche can do some okay damage again, but you've got to have a lot of different things activated. So that's why he's in D tier. He can do some okay damage for being a 3-star crappy character, right? So that's why he is in D tier. Same with Price, which I guess is about the best we could ask for. Those are the only F and D tier characters we have. Going up to D+, we have Bryson here. So Bryson I put in D+ because he's actually got some quite decent utility. I was really thinking about putting him in C tier, but I feel like putting him in C tier with the other characters that are in C tier is a little unfair for him, or for them rather, because he does have Haze, which is a very good ability, not only for Latias, Cresselia, those type of legendary arenas, but also because of the new point additions in Master Mode. The ability to potentially get rid of enemy stat changes with the +3 stat up parameter is getting more and more useful, so I think that this is definitely very nice. Also, potentially could be useful maybe in a future ultimate battle where an enemy could have like fluid fortification and a lot of stat buffing, so you could debuff them with Haze. More stages I'm figuring have gotten fluid fortification or rely on stat buffs to do extra damage, and Haze, in my opinion, is just becoming far more useful. I found a lot of help with it from both him and the free Victor. Haze has honestly just been really useful, and outside of that, he's got okay special bulk. If you do give him about 5 stars, okay special bulks, and he's able to apply special defense buffs to himself and apply endurance twice. So you could actually have him survive quite a few attacks if you need him to, especially in a legendary gauntlet setting. And he can also do omni buffing for himself with ancient power if you do need stat buffs, and he can ice beam hostile environment, that type of stuff, right? So you can get some freeze as well. He can be decent in that regard, as well as having some support here with Flag Bearer and Hype Up 4. I do think you may be able to argue him in C, but I'm going to keep him in D+, just to keep things a little bit easier for myself. And then I'm gonna stop going off my list. I'm gonna go a little bit in order. We have Candace, who's in C tier. Candace is in C tier because she's got a solid nuke and it's easy to activate. That's pretty much it. Her stats are not the greatest. Even at 6-star EX, 320 attack is not that great, but her nuke is very easy to activate because she buffs all her stats herself, her speed, her attack. She doesn't need crit because she has, where is it? Is it follow through? Yeah, follow through on Hail, which she also does need for multipliers, and she can activate Hail again. Stating she can activate Hail is really good because Hail is a lot of things that a lot of ice types need. So being able to apply Hail, definitely very, very nice. And her nuke again is quite solid, especially being a Tech EX character. Getting that Tech EX for extra power is definitely quite nice for her lower physical attack stat. But her nuke's easy to activate. She can do some decent enough damage with it. Ice Punch is going to hit for the greatest damage in the world, but if you get grid for ramming speed, it's something, I guess. So I think Candace definitely kind of belongs in C tier. I would say so. Then going to Glacia, I put her in D+. You may be able to argue her C. I did. You may be able to argue her C or D. Honestly, I think you could go either way with however you want to fight for Candace. Or not Candace, Glacia. Because her grid expansion really did apply some decent buffs. Healthy buffer 5 for extra healing extra damage reduction on full health is definitely very nice, especially with her being able to regenerate health gradually. Could be potentially quite useful. She's also got some pretty solid healing abilities for herself. Team Tough Enough for physical defense buffs. She's also got Durable on her trainer move, applying Endurance, which is actually quite useful, surviving that one single hit. Synchro Healing for more healing-based abilities, Healing Hail. She's got a lot of healing, and she can Soul Latios, which is something, I guess. This is still kind of a lot of characters. She also has Hostile Environment 1 on Powder Snow if you want to rely on 20% freeze chance. Go for it. And then Barricade 1 on the trainer move if you want special defense, a single special defense buff, but really I wouldn't. She's got Fortuitous 4 for her own buffing, so that's fine. She's not really that great in offensive buffing or kind of buffing in general, but she does kind of have some abilities as well as Focus Group 9 for crit buffs. She's got some small special attack buffs. She's got the ability to max crit. She can do regeneration, a lot of healing for herself, and quite a bit for allies as well. So I'd say she's not like the worst character in the game. Probably the worst, definitely the worst ice support, because the other options are Melanie and Palentine's B, who are obviously better. But that finishes off the D+, D, and F tiers. Going on to the next character, we have Summer Steven. Now, his ranking is actually a little bit higher than you may expect. I put him in B. I put him in B because, again, relative to other ice types, I would say he's still relatively strong. 424 attack with the EX, 464 attack is still really solid, as well as having Icicle Crash being a 126 power move. Not the best in the world, and one of his multipliers is Free Synergy 3, which does require the freeze. But he also has Invigorating Hail 5 for a 50% free multiplier to his Icicle Crash, which, of course, being able to summon Hail is nice, which he can do after using his sync move, as well as have support from allies who can set Hail as well. So he can work quite well in that regard. Requiring Hail for damage is a little bit annoying because he doesn't synergize the best with Irida, which is mostly why he's not even higher than this, and why I could think you could maybe argue him for a little bit even lower of a position. But I do think that his damage overall could be quite decent still, despite being how old he is. His nuke is not it. Freeze or Burn, you need freeze and flinch, good luck. And then Double Down, I wouldn't say the nuke's worth anything, but Icicle Crash, being able to use that for some decent damage, I think is worth something. And as well as having relatively good self-sufficiency with the accuracy crit buffs here, as well as attack buffs. He can max crit instantly when in Hail, which is definitely very nice. And I'd say that's mostly it. You can go for no quarter if you want, but Icicle Crash is just better, plus again 30% flinch chance, so there you go. You can go for that. And yeah, he doesn't have aggravation, but that's fine. So I put him in B just because his damage can be quite solid. He's got self-sufficiency and aggravation. Looking at Gatus, people probably aren't going to like this one. I put Gatus in A. I put, not S. I put him in A though. I do think Gatus is actually still one of the best ice types in the game. That's mostly speaks on how meh ice types are, but I do think that he's more up there now, especially with his grid expansion. He's got a great nuke, you know, the extra sync nodes here, all of these. He's got overpower and pecking order. Overpower's for DPS, but pecking order as well as the innate, what is this? Not Hunter's Instinct. Cakewalk. Innate Cakewalk, as well as having pecking order here, definitely pretty decent multipliers for his damage. Being able to debuff with Noble Roar and do it by double the stat ranks with double drop here is definitely very nice as well. Debuffing stats is definitely always going to be useful. Glaciate for debuffing speed and doing AoE damage. It is a little bit low on the power, but it does have overpower as well as innate Hunter's Instinct to power it up. So you can do some pretty decent damage there. Special attack's not the worst in the world. Could be better, but definitely could be worse. The Trina move in base kind of sucks, but he does have Sharp Entry 1 for being able to max crit off of using his Trina move now. Glaciate 9 for move gauge refresh, gauge purposes, which is honestly pretty useful. Trina move ramp up 1 for extra special attack buffs, meaning he can be far more self-sufficient in his own buffing, and Sync Freebie again for more gauge sufficiency. People were pretty upset with what they gave him because it was just self-sufficient stuff, but really, I think that's all he needed for the most part, because I still think he's among one of the better ice types in the game, especially with how much he benefits from the sheer existence of Irida, with her being able to debuff speed, special defense, special attack, apply ice zone. Hail, not really so much, but she does support with Hail, as well as have a master passive. So Gatus has benefited so much from Irida's arrival alone off of his own base kit. So I'm putting him in A, mostly just because of that. Going into B tier is Hala. I put Hala as worse than Gatus. Fight me. Hala is just kind of iffy. His attack stats about the same as Gatus's here, or about the same as his special attack rather. Yeah, it's very, very minimal difference. 388 on Gatus with 383 on Hala. So a very minute difference there. He's got a far harder hitting DPS option with Ice Hammer, as well as having Super Duper Effective 2 and Invigorating Hail 2. Only reason I didn't put him in A tier or above Gatus especially is because he doesn't synergize the best with Irida. That's mostly it. Obviously, synergy is not like everything, but Irida debuffs special defense, not defense. She's a special attacking unit. Hala's a physical attacking unit. They don't really synergize the best, and I'm pretty sure her master passive doesn't help out Hala at all. Yeah, it powers up special attacking moves, so her master passive isn't really boosting his damage at all. So that's kind of iffy there. But of course, being a physical attacker, he does have options such as Tapu Bulu, but he does want Hail, so you also can't really run the Sun too much. But you also do have Special Costume Steven, who is obviously a great partner. You could definitely make it a case for Hala being an A, 100%. I do think so. I would say he's probably better than Summer Steven, so I'm going to go ahead and just put him in the higher part of B. I'm not going to do it for these lower characters. They're pretty mediocre all around. But I do think Hala can still be quite good. He's got a great nuke with Haymaker here and a lot of the sync nodes. He's got solid enough damage nodes with the Super Duper Effective 2 and Invigorating Hail. Not bad at all, as well as Terrain Move super Preparation. Don't like that he debuffs his own speed, because that's quite annoying, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And he gets a 10% multiplier when his speed is lowered, which is kind of hindering, but it's also 10%, so it's not the worst thing in the world. But again, you could argue Hala for A tier if you wanted to. I would say so. Going on to Holiday Leon, I put him in A. You may be able to make a case for him being in B, but I put him in A because his attack stat is absurd. He's got Glacial Lance with 192 power with its ramming speed multiplier, as well as having Cold Snap 1 and Cold Snap 2 available to him. He's got Invigorating 1 for extra damage as well, but nah. He's also got a Sync Nuke here, which is not really the greatest. Heavy Hail 2, Freezer Burn 5, Freezer Burn 2, Heavy Hail 5. Too hard to activate all of these at once. It's kind of the similar case as Laurelai, so you do got to keep that in mind. Plus sync nodes. You can even pick up everything as well, so you do also got to keep that in mind. But just his DPS alone is quite solid. Every time he uses a trainer move, he gets a physical moves next, and he has 6 available trainer moves with that NPR. So you could do quite a lot of damage on at least your first Glacial Lance, as well as, of course, having great self-sufficiency. But, of course, he does probably still want to support because it would take way too long to buff all this stuff. And of course, he also got victory for super effective next, which is not too bad as well. And then again, Mighty Rush 9 for more physical moves next. He's got a decent amount of abilities that are useful to him, but really, it's just the Glacial Lance, physical moves next, and 500 attack stat that's making me put him this high in the ranking. Honestly, I would say so. You could maybe put him at the best of B tier, but I think he's still relatively capable of being put in A tier. Going on to Holiday Nessa, I also put her in A tier. I went ahead and put her in A tier just because she's got a lot of solid utility. Her attack stat's still quite solid for damage. She's got Icicle Crash, same as Holiday Steven. She's got Invigorating Hail 3, as well as Ramming Speed, so she may actually be hitting harder than Summer Steven. I mean, if I said Holiday Steven, I meant Summer Steven. Oops. And then she's also got some other decent abilities. Ice Plow 3, being able to power up her damage even further. She's got the ability to set Hail, which again is obviously very useful for Ice teams. Hail NPR 4, which is a 50% chance to restore Hail MP. That's already very good in its own right, because others are 30% chances. Pep Rally on Hail there, so she's able to do speed support, which is not bad at all. She's able to apply gradual healing to all allies in Hailstorm, which is not bad. She's also got Hasty Hail for gauge acceleration and stuff. Not the worst thing in the world. She does have that free, pretty much damage guard when hit by a physical attacking move when in Ice Face form. And obviously she goes to Noise Face form after that, but then she'll use Hail again and will change back into Ice Face, which can give her back that physical damage guard next, so to speak, right? Other than that, though, I wouldn't say she's really insane. She can do some support abilities with speed and attack. She can go for super effective next on Hail. She can go for flinches, which are definitely very, very nice as well. I would say that's about it, pretty much. Her nuke is not great at all, but I do think her flinches, pretty solid actual attacking stat and attacking capability. Relatively decent self-sufficiency and supporting capabilities are relatively worthy of putting her in A, but I definitely do think you could potentially argue her as B tier, for sure, 100%. Definitely one of those characters I was more iffy on. Going to Palentine's B, I hate this character. I'm putting her in B tier. I don't care. You can put her in the best of B, you can put her in the worst of B. I don't care. I'm going to put her in the center. I don't like this character. This character was, it's more of a personal thing than anything, but I just don't like her. She's got one use MP with being able to buff attack and special attack by 4 and apply physical moves next by 1 in Hail. But it's only 1 MP, and then they release characters literally like a month later that's able to do 2 MP and be able to buff physical moves or special moves next. Why was B shafted? Why? She's got Astonis for flinches, though, which is definitely very nice. Potions for healing and consistent healing, which is also very nice, as well as potion stuff. Being able to summon Hail on entry, as well as getting a 30% defensive increase when in Hail as well. So, think Ingo. Protecting from Hail damage, of course, is kind of I would hope. She's also able to summon Hail after using her Sync move, which is quite useful, especially for, like, Moltres and whatnot. But this is definitely not bad. She's got Astonish Flag Bearer for a 30% chance to buff attack when using it. And again, for the flinch chance, you still have that. Team Sharp Entry 1 for +1 crit to all allies on injury, which is more useful than you would really think. I've found a lot of situations where I need that +1 crit, and these abilities are able to provide it. Mostly Sycamore and other characters, but Palentine's B can do it as well. Snow Sentinel being able to buff her defenses when the Pokemon uses a move in Hail, so she's able to be quite bulky when in Hail, but do note she does not extend it. She does use it. She does apply after her Sync move, but again, do consider you're mostly only using her Sync move once, other than specific like Legendary Arena setups, maybe like versus Moltres or something. So you're only using this pretty much once, but still, it's not too bad. Again, this is a personal bias. You could definitely argue her as A tier, probably. I'm not going to. I don't like her. Let's go to BP Candace. I put her in C as well. She could probably be argued for B. Potentially. Also, B is in B. That's funny. But BP Candace here, she's got pretty decent abilities, and she benefits so much from the existence of Irida. So much. Like literally night and day. Her special attack stat, not like the greatest in the world, 300. It's pretty much similar to Laurelai's situation, but she does have Blizzard, same as Laurelai, but her other stuff is a lot easier to activate. easier to activate because she's got Bob and Weave, which is able to buff evasion with her trainer move very easily. She's got Heavy Hail for her nuke, as well as 4 sync nodes, super duper effective 2 for extra DPS multipliers. Trainer move NPR and Agile Entry 2 for extra evasion. She does have, again, Bob and Weave. Hostile Environment on Blizzard if you do want that extra freeze chance, but I wouldn't. Other than that, she's able to set Hail, which is very, very useful again. More than useful if you're running her with Irida, because if Irida's Hail happens to run out, you can actually set it back yourself. But of course, Irida's is an ice zone thing as well, so you kind of don't want it to run out. But again, her best thing is that she benefits a lot from Irida's existence, as well as being able to apply part of Sinnoh's Master Passive. So she's able to actually power up the Master Passive here and get an even better boost. So that's why I put her in C. Before, really, I would say she was actually worse than her counterpart because she was just so difficult to use. You needed to max her crit, max her special attack, max her evasion, have Hail up. Thankfully, with the existence of Irida, the strengths that she gains has outweighed the loss of having to use so many trainer moves, or potentially use so many trainer moves, as well as getting a lot of buffs just from Irida's Master Passive and her special defense debuffing capabilities. So Irida helped this character a lot, and I put her in C. You may be able to argue B. I don't know. Going on to Melanie, I put her in A as well. I do think maybe you can argue her as a high B character, but I put her in A because she's got a lot of decent abilities. A lot of decent abilities. I gotta find her. Right there. Of course. She's got Sing, which is one of the best abilities, and especially if you give her Troublemaker as a lucky skill, you can get some consistent sleep, which is very useful. Be able to buff special defense for defensive buffing ability. Critical hit rate, which is obviously useful and just by its own. She's able to apply the damage reduction shields with physical damage reduction, as well as special damage reduction and status condition defense with safeguard. So you're able to apply a lot of different bonuses with her, mostly just the shields, which are in their own right quite useful and quite useful for damage reduction. She's a very defensively useful support. She's got some decent healing abilities with Team Sync Regen, actually, and Recuperation 1 for herself. This is just for herself. You can also do some Ice Beam stuff with Hostile Environment, have a 30% chance to freeze, but really, you're probably just going to want to go for Sing anyway, so not really worth it. But other than that, she can max crit with Team Sharp Entry 1. Other than that, you got Healing Hail, which again, run her with Irida. You can get yourself a lot of healing from that. She can also run Racing Rain and Refreshing Rain, meaning she's not really locked to ice types. You can run her in a rain setup if you want these healing abilities, or really just with any character. She's not really locked to needing any specific characters or weather or whatever for most of her stuff. I would say that's mostly it. You can also run Max Guard Barricade Buddies. Max Guard has been relatively useful ever since its arrival, pretty much. So you can go ahead and work with that. Really just the shields are her biggest impact, as well as being able to buff special defense and crit pretty consistently and apply sleep. Sleep as a support especially is quite good. So I went ahead and put her in A. Again, I do think you could probably argue her as a B character though, if you really wanted to. Okay, Signa Suit N. This guy I had a hard time ranking. I'm going to put him in the very top of A tier, but I do think you may be able to argue him as S tier. I'm going to go ahead and just say you probably could, because this guy, even with his drawbacks, can do a lot of damage. But in Roar, never use it. Kind of sucks. Definitely sucks. But you do get a lot of good stuff with this character. He's got a pretty solid nuke. Very high physical attack stat, by the way. But with a decent nuke as well, he's got 100% multipliers here, as well as 60% multipliers here. This is very good, or very solid in their own right. He's also got Hostile Environment 2 if you want yourself Paralysis off Freeze Shock guaranteed, because he does have Hostile Environment 1 already here. You can actually freeze as well with Ice Beam, a total of 40% chance, which is not bad as well. Sync Countdown with Head Start 1. You can do some pretty decent Ice Beam damage if you are facing super effective enemies, though you don't really need to with this guy. He's actually strong enough to be off-typing as well. He's also got Piercing Gaze for never missing moves, because they gave 90% accuracy to Freeze Shock, because we should go fuck ourselves, I guess. He can be able to max his attack and special attack if you want to with Trainer Move Berserker, because he already raises his both of his offenses by 4 and crit by 3 on his Trainer Move. Very self-sufficient. Again, Freeze Shock, 330 power. It doesn't have any multipliers, but it can get physical moves next with Peak Readiness, which is actually a very solid multiplier to pick up. And it's not out of the way either, because you can pick... This is pretty much his best grid. This right here is pretty much his best grid to pick up. You could definitely change around some stuff if you wanted to, but really I would say this is what you want. You can maybe pick up that as well for extra attack. This is probably what you're running with. But Head Start 1, Peak Readiness for physical moves next for his Free Shock, so it actually can hit quite hard, because this is a 2-turn move, which is its biggest drawback. 4 gauge, not that bad, but still. Maybe you don't want 4 gauge. He's also got decent enough bulk with the defense buffs, and he can actually do some damage reduction stuff with Ready for Anything 5, which reduces damage when hit by an attacking move while in a counter-attacking posture. So not only can he do decent damage, but in a more of a Legendary Gauntlet situation, you can actually use him as a okay enough tank, and it's actually not too bad. I would say those are the best things about Signit Silver. And solid nuke, pretty good damage, albeit obviously niche. A lot of good sync countdown with 2 prepared 9 here, as well as being able to buff physical moves next and have Head Start 1 for extra sync countdown. Potentially great freeze chances, as well as really good paralysis chances. Not a bad character overall. I would put him in A tier, high A tier. Probably, yeah, definitely the best character in it, or maybe a lower part of S tier, but that's really just up to you. Next we got ourselves Variety Laurelai. Variety Laurelai. I need to actually remember where I put her. Oh yeah, I put her in B tier. I put Variety Laurelai in B tier because as a support, she's not really the greatest. She's decent, pretty good bulk stats, I would say. She's able to apply +4 to defenses, +2 to crit, and endurance to all allies, which is very good. Protect as well for damage guard and X attack all. But outside of that, honestly, she doesn't really do too much. She's got herself no quarter and recharging strike and restoring strike, meaning she's got a little bit of healing for herself, as well as a decent enough gauge refresh. So 5 times you're going to be landing these moves, you're going to be having a decent chance to restore quite a bit of HP, if you need to. She's also got First Aid 4, the ability to buff physical defense when using X attack all, though really I don't know why you would want to, because you already have +4 here. You probably don't need to buff any more than that. X attack all, Fleet Feet 1, +1 speed to the user. That's not great. Not great. I don't know why this isn't just Fast Track, or Pep Rally or something. Whatever. Team Mighty Sync 9, applying physical moves next after using the Sync move. That's decent. Emergency Barrier, applying physical damage reduction. Not really the greatest. Additional Synchro Healing for 20% healing to all allies when using the Sync move. Not bad. Tripping Strike and Punishing Strike, they're 20% chances, so you're not really going to proc them much. Maybe once every Icicle Spear. Maybe once. And you may not even land that, honestly. 20% chance is quite a low chance. Even hitting 5 times, there's a solid chance you won't roll it. Healthy Healing, Hasty Hail, these type of abilities. Really, her best draw is the +2 crit, max attack, pretty much max defenses, as well as endurance, which all she does at base, by the way, which is not bad. As well as having the Recharging Strike. No speed buffs for allies, though, which is quite annoying. But, of course, Recharging Strike is something. I would say this is probably where I would put her. I probably wouldn't put her any higher than this, honestly. I think she's definitely not better than Palentine's B. You can make arguments for the other characters, but she's also a support and not a damage dealer, so good luck with that one. And Irida, obviously she's an S tier character. She's stupid. Stupidly good. Master Passive, very, very good. She's able to apply both Hail and Ice Zone simultaneously and extend both. Very, very useful as well. Icy Wind, not the greatest move in its own right, but she does have very high special attack stat, as well as being able to debuff special attack, special defense, and speed all at once. Hunter's Instinct for pretty much free 30% multiplier here after debuffing speed to max. Invigorating Hail 5 for a 50% multiplier when in Hail, which of course she's going to want Hail activated. Arctic Arrival, being able to set Ice Zone and Hail on entry. Very good as well. She's also got her innate nuke, as well as just brain power for her own nuke as well, which her nuke is pretty solid, mostly just due to her high special attack stat. She's got 20% support to allies when in Hail, as well as protecting allies from damage in a hailstorm, which is useful as well. And of course, her best ability probably, Dancing Ice Beam. Or not her best ability, but definitely one of her defining factors of her kit. Dancing Ice Beam, one of the strongest, among the some of the stronger buddy moves in the game. It's a 220 base power move, one used to gauge, that is used in a hailstorm, and it has a 10% chance to leave the enemy frozen, lower special defense by 4, applies gauge acceleration, and free moves next to her. And she's got Chill to the Core, which raises special attack by 4, crit by 3, and applies gradual healing to all allies in Hail. So she's very self-sufficient. She's got a pretty solid nuke, very good damage with Dancing Ice Beam, amazing utility with the Ice Zone, the support, the Master passive, the Hail Protection, as well as the Satisfied Snarl, the speed debuffs, as well as the Mind Games 9 here. This character is insane. She helps out a lot of characters. This is why Gatus is so high. She helped Gatus to get as high as he did. She helped BP Candace not be stuck in like D tier, probably. And she helped just so many characters. She's even useful for characters like Signit Silver, and even though she doesn't synergize that well with them. Yeah, it's that good. Going into Signit Silver, I went ahead and put him in S tier. You may be able to argue A tier. I don't know. It's depending on if you think that he's better than Signit Silver or not. I'm going to go ahead and put him up here, though, because he's got a lot of strengths. Biggest thing is that Triple Axel sucks. Fuck Triple Axel. I hate this fucking move. But he's got a very good attack stat, very good speed stat. He's got himself the innate multiplier with Cakewalk, as well as the innate multiplier of Inertia on his passive skills. Is able to debuff speed with every use of Triple Axel pretty much, with Tripping Strike 9. Adrenaline 2 after using his Sync move for a lot of Sync countdown, as well as giving him Adrenaline 1 as a lucky skill potentially. He's also got Crushing Triple Axel, which is used when his HP is full, which does limit the restrictions quite a bit, but it's a very good move because it's able to do a lot of damage with the 44, then 88, then whatever the fuck power, 120 something. Second attack is twice as powerful as the first attack. Third attack is 3 times as powerful as the first attack. Yeah, so it's like 120 some power, then the 80, then it's like 240 power-ish total. He's able to buff his sync countdown by 1 every single time this lands, which is a maximum of 3 times, so -3 sync countdown in a single turn, plus his use of the move is -4. You've also got yourself the +1 crit after using each hit, so you can max your crit from this, as well as that's pretty much it. Yeah, pretty much you're able to do a lot of sync countdown. You're able to max his crit with it, as well as do decent damage if you can get crit buffs and actually, land this move. Because I have Burst In on my run for Signit Silver, so you can actually do some pretty good damage out the gate with this move, which is actually very nice. Able to buff his own speed, which is great, buff his own attack as well, and apply gauge acceleration for gauge management purposes. So he's able to activate pretty much all of his multipliers, his Cakewalk and Inertia. Though it does take time, you do have to rely on the accuracy of Triple Axel because it is a check every single time for the accuracy, which is very annoying. Way more annoying than you would think, trust me. But when it gets to 3 out of 5, he gets a lot of multipliers as well. Invigorating Hail, Hunter's Instinct, Cakewalk again for another multiplier, Heavy Hail 5 if you run him with an Hail Setter. He can do a lot of great damage. His biggest drawbacks are really the amount of time it takes to buff his stats, so you do need a pretty solid support for that, as well as obviously not being able to capitalize too much off the damage from Crushing Triple Axel, because most of the time you're probably going to use it to buff his crit, but of course you don't have to. You can just bring a crit support and you can get some good damage out of this. And then of course you have to activate Inertia and Cakewalk, which isn't the worst thing. But then of course with the reward you get a great nuker, a great DPS unit, a lot of sync countdown. This guy's quite good overall, and that's not even considering 4 out of 5 where he gets Punishing Strike to be able to debuff defense, which is not bad at all. I would put him in S tier. You can put him like the king of A tier if you want to, but I'm going to put him in S tier. I'm comfortable with the placing. Obviously, Neo Champion Red, single best unit, maybe in the game, but definitely in the Ice types category. You can maybe argue Irida because of how much she's useful, but what's there to say about this guy? He's able to buff special moves next by like breathing, basically. He gets power up on a sync move every time he gets special moves next. The more special moves next he has, the more powers up his sync move, which is pretty impressive. He's got Protect for damage, Guard, Blizzard for AoE damage if you need it, but then Frozen Wings Ice Beam, which is 165 power, by the way, ignores passive skills that would reduce the damage of the move and all of that stuff, and it leaves the enemy frozen. Guaranteed Freeze, finally, took long enough. He's able to lower Ice Rebuff whenever he attacks the enemy, as well as whenever he uses a sync move for -2 Ice Rebuff. He's got the Kanto Master passive as well for the extra power up for allies, especially for Kanto allies. And then he's got himself guaranteed crits on his sync move and normal move, as well as +6 special attack on the trainer move, sync countdown reduction, as well as +2 special moves next. He gets special moves next every time he lands an attack on the enemy. Blizzard buffs it by 3, Frozen Wings Ice Beam buffs it by 1, and that's not even including the grid. In the grid, he's got himself, what is this amount of multipliers? He's got himself 50%, 100%, 250% in total multipliers for the sync move, not including the extra special moves next he gets for his multiplier as well. So if you want to run that, go for it. For DPS on Frozen Wings Ice Beam, he gets, he gets this, this. He gets 200% total multipliers on the sync move and 50% multipliers on this, as well as a 90% multiplier. Wait, where is it? Sorry, I'm brain dead. He gets extra special moves next when hitting a frozen opponent. Okay. This guy's confusing me because there's so much he fucking does. He's got great damage. He's got a great nuke. He's got Sing Countdown. He's got special moves next up the ass. He's able to guarantee crits. What more do you need from this character? This character just does way too damn much. Stupidly insane character. Just absolutely bonkers. Probably the single best damage dealer in the game. Probably, I don't know. But I'd say definitely up there, man. Definitely the top of the ice tier. Going after that, we got Dana here, who I put in B tier. I honestly think you could probably argue this character for A tier. Honestly, because especially for a free-to-play character standard, she is quite good. Super effective next, being able to just unconditionally buff a super effective move of an ally is already really solid. What time are we at, by the way? Goddamn. Being able to buff super effective next for an ally is great. Being able to just do extra super effective damage. Special defense buffs are nice in their own right, but then her trainer move is able to fully restore an ally's HP and buff damage guard or apply damage guard. So if you need a desperate heal and the ability to tank, you got it with this trainer move, which has actually really been useful for me. Team Toughen Up 9, buffing defense of all allies when the user is hit by an attacking move, meaning she can also buff physical defense as well as special defense. You've also got yourself the Ice Teamwork Master passive, which, especially in conjunction with Red and Irida, gives you so many different buffs. You got the max Ice Teamwork, you got the max, you got the different buffs from Red and Irida's Master passes as well. Pretty crazy stuff. Last word for Explosion, you're not going to really use it too much. Very good attack stat. Vigilance for guaranteed crit protection, which is great. So if you set her Lucky Seal to something like Head Start 1, you can get a lot of good use out of it. And that's just at 1 out of 5, which is what most people probably use her at. But if you want to run her grid, you've got Hype Up 9 on Frost Breath, being able to buff special attack when using it, which is very nice. First Aid 4, so you probably don't have to use her trying to move on herself. You can rely on her to be able to be solid enough in her own healing, which is very nice. Team Sharp Entry 1, being able to buff ally crit as well as special attack here is very, very nice. And then other than that, she's got some decent abilities such as Cold Snap 1 for 20% freeze, Synchro Healing for extra healing for allies, Healing Hail if you are in Hail, which again, run her with Irida, you'll be getting some good healing. Winter Coat 2, reducing damage when hit by an attacking move in Hail. Also, Irida has that ability as well. It's very good for her bulk. So she's got extra damage reduction. She's got so many defensively solid abilities. Super effective next for buffing allies damage. Frost Breath, Hype Up 9, and Team Sharp Entry for buffing allies crit and special attack. Be able to do great healing with her trainer move and First Aid 4. This character, especially for a free-to-play, is... yeah, I'd say she's among the best free-to-play characters in the game, for sure, and definitely a very solid ice type as well. You can definitely put her pretty high up on this list. And then the Egg Sylveon, Glacian. I don't include eggs, but I felt like including Egg Glacian just because it's one of the more solid Eggmons, especially for ice types in general, because it's able to apply Ice Zone. Only character other than Irida to do that, and it is also a Glacian. So I went ahead, I popped her up in C tier. Because her only real use is buffing, or applying Ice Zone. That's pretty much it. And obviously with Ice Zone, you would need to apply it. And then if your characters need Hail, you would also need Hail. But thankfully, a lot of the more recent ice types don't need Hail, such as Neo Champion Red. Silver does kind of want it for his Heavy Hail 5 and Invigorating Hail 5, but he doesn't need it to do a lot of good damage, which is very nice. Gatus obviously does not need it as well, neither does Signit Silver. So thankfully, some of the more recent characters don't need Hail in order to do pretty good damage, which is nice. But thankfully, Ice Zone alone is already quite useful. You could definitely put her lower because her only use is Ice Zone, but Ice Zone is still quite solid. Made yourself a little staircase here, and then it kind of petered out towards the end. But I'm going to go ahead and conclude it. I think that's my overview for all the ice types, because this video is like 40 minutes long, and I'm tired now. Yeah, it's quite crazy. But yeah, this is my overview for all the ice types. Again, you can shift around some characters, but I would say for an overall gist, this is probably where I would put all the ice type characters, including Glacian here, which You can just go ahead and remove her if you really don't want to see it, but I went ahead and put her up here anyway. It's not the biggest deal in the world. You could probably rank other Eggmons as well, but I would say that, at least among Eggmons, Glacian's going to be the best. So if you want to know where others are, probably D+ to F. There you go. So yeah, I would say this is probably the best version of it. You could probably argue for Signa to end in S tier. I definitely think so. But I'm going to go ahead and just put him in A tier. So yeah. I'll see y'all later. I hope y'all enjoyed. Let me know what you think about the ice type as a whole, as well as your favorite ice types, your, best ice types, etc. And yeah, I'll see y'all later.